The Sahara Desert is moving south. Every year, it swallows up more of the Sahel, burying fertile ground under sand and permanently stripping away the topsoil needed to grow food. As the grazing pastures shrink and wells dry up, communities are left fighting over the remaining resources. This ecological decay directly drives desperate regional conflicts. To fight back, leaders dusted off a massive environmental concept, first proposed in the 1950s. By 2007, the African Union officially launched it as the Great Green Wall. This map shows the sheer physical scale of the blueprint. We are looking at an 8,000-kilometer continuous defense line, stretching across the entire width of the continent, tracing a path through 11 countries from Senegal to Djibouti. But travel to that line, and you won't find a literal wall of concrete or wood. To see how this actually defends against the desert, you have to drop down from the sky and look closely at the dirt. This diagram shows how millions of planted trees act as physical brakes against brutal winds, protecting fragile soil. Simultaneously, the vegetation breathes out moisture, feeding a humidity loop that can eventually return rainfall to the parched Sahel region. The system relies heavily on specific supertrees, like the Acacia Senegal. As a legume, the acacia naturally pulls nitrogen from the air and fixes it directly into the exhausted earth, acting as a free organic fertilizer. This is a bioengineered terraforming engine. It relies entirely on nature's biological mechanisms to reverse the harsh conditions of the desert environment. Early on, the initiative struggled as a strict government-mandated planting program. It became clear a top-down mandate wouldn't work. Local populations had to lead the effort themselves. The solution was agroforestry. Farmers began cultivating traditional crops like sorghum directly beneath new tree canopies. The shade cuts water evaporation, keeping crops alive. More importantly, the trees pay dividends. The acacia produces gum arabic, a sought-after resin used in sodas, turning the tree into a lucrative global export. Other massive species like the Baobab and the Shea tree are cultivated to yield valuable fruit and essential oils. Communities are also planting multi-purpose gardens. These dedicated plots offer immediate food security and create independent, steady income streams for local women. Without these tangible economic benefits, the climate initiative falls apart. The local communities must be financially invested, otherwise they simply cannot afford to keep the trees alive in such a harsh environment. Planting a sapling takes a few minutes. Guarding it from livestock and keeping it constantly irrigated for a decade in 45 degrees Celsius heat is an extreme logistical marathon. There are major regional victories. Ethiopia has managed to restore over 15 million hectares of degraded land. Meanwhile, farmers in Niger have cultivated 5 million hectares of trees using natural regeneration techniques rather than relying on high-tech nurseries. This chart illustrates the broader reality. Despite those successes, the overall 100 million hectare goal is only 15 to 20% complete, leaving a massive 80% gap. Progress frequently stalls. In regions like the Lake Chad Basin, violent insurgency makes it impossible to maintain long-term agricultural sites. On top of that, aligning the environmental policies of 11 distinct national governments creates an agonizing diplomatic bottleneck. Right now, there is no seamless barrier spanning the continent. The project is a highly fragile patchwork that demands immense, sustained political and agricultural stamina to survive the next decade. If fully realized, the dimensions of the project will break ecological records. It will be the largest living structure on Earth, covering an area roughly 3 times the size of the Great Barrier Reef. The planetary impact scales right along with it. The dense vegetation has the capacity to sequester up to 250 million tons of carbon from the atmosphere. The science is proving robust enough that similar continental green walls are currently being drafted for the Middle East and Central Asia. Above all, the Great Green Wall rejects the outdated narrative of a continent in decline. It stands as a monumental, African-led solution, physically engineering a sustainable future from the ground up.